A primary school in Edinburgh is inviting all pupils, boys and girls, from nursery up to P7 and staff to go to school wearing a skirt tomorrow. That's the 4th of November. Now, I'm not going to be naming the school because we'll protect sources if they don't want to be revealed, but I've seen the relevant documents. I've had a look at the school's website. There's a load of LGBT stuff in it. I mean, this is true. This is happening at a primary school in Edinburgh tomorrow. Right, here's the email that was sent to parents. Our P6 pupils have been learning about gender stereotypes and how important it is to break them down. They learnt about a Spanish high school pupil, Miquel Gomez, who was expelled from school last year for wearing a skirt. In response to this, male teachers and many pupils throughout Spain came to school on the 4th of November wearing a skirt to support Miquel and break down gender norms. So, this Thursday, the 4th of November, we're asking all pupils and teachers who feel comfortable doing so to wear a skirt to school. Translation: we're asking primary school boys to cross-dress for the day. We're asking them to be cross-dressers, at least, introducing them to that sort of behaviour. Normal uniforms should be worn alongside this. I don't know how you wear clothes alongside a skirt, but anyway. We're keen to spread the message that clothes don't have a gender. That's just not true. That is absolutely not true. Clothes do have a gender. Skirts in our culture are female clothing. I mean, everyone knows that. It's quite clear. They're the clothes that females wear. But this primary school thinks that schools don't have a gender. They've declared that to be the case. And that we should all be free to express ourselves as we choose. You got that, parents? If your son wants to wear a dress, that's just brilliant, says the primary school. If your child is keen to wear a skirt, but there are none suitable in your home, your child can ask in school, as we have been collecting some for use on Thursday. Trousers, leggings, tights and any other layer of choice can be worn underneath the skirts to stay warm. Because that's the real concern, isn't it? That the pupils are going to get a little bit chilly. Not that there's confusion and corrupting and presenting a dangerous message. The danger they're worried about is some of them might get chilly legs. So, what do we make about this? Now, some people will respond by saying, oh, schools should be concentrating on teaching maths and English instead of this nonsense. That's the sort of response we might get from the Conservative Party, for example. But that's not good enough. That's not good enough. The problem with this is not primarily that it's taking attention away from proper academic study, even though that is a valid point. The point is that this is harming children. It's harming children. It's endangering them. It's opening up the possibility of creating serious problems for them throughout their life. This school is in an area where there are, I would say, quite a number of pupils will be experiencing quite a disadvantaged background, might be the term that people use. But this school wants to add another potential problem into their life, the problem of gender confusion. So clothes in, I think, all societies act as a sex marker. Now, there's various reasons why societies do that. I mean, one reason is it can be a bit embarrassing if you see someone and you can't actually tell if they're a man or a woman and you get it wrong. So if clothing communicates clearly sex, then that's helpful. But that's not the main reason. Sex-specific clothing helps form a clear sense of sexual identity for the person wearing the clothes and the person meeting that person as well. So what's wrong with a skirt on a boy? Well, it's a female item of clothing. So in wearing a skirt, the boy is blurring and confusing his sex identity, gender identity, whatever you want to call it. And the huge evidence is that that is a harmful thing. It leads to negative results. I mean, transgenderism in general, I would say, is a mental health problem, but it's also associated with all sorts of other mental health problems as well. It could lead eventually to treatments, so-called treatments involving like puberty blocking drugs, surgery, sex change surgery, etc. And these problems can blight a person throughout their whole life. But this primary school is quite happy to risk that because as far as they're concerned, promoting a radical ideology of gender is the priority. Children's well-being, well, that can be sacrificed on the altar of queer theory. At this point, someone who's not really following the argument very well might say, oh, what about kilts? Isn't that boys wearing skirts? That's fine. But of course, if in the culture, like, a kilt is a male item of clothing, then that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But in a culture where a skirt is distinctly female, regarded as female clothing, then it is bringing in gender confusion to these boys. I wonder if any boys might try the skirt on, and previously they hadn't really thought about this particularly, hadn't really been drawn in that direction, but they might wear it and think, oh, I quite like this. Maybe this is something I'll explore a bit further. And that could set them down a very dangerous and harmful road. And who do I blame for it? I blame the head teacher of this school. I blame every member of staff in this school who hasn't made their objections known in the strongest possible manner to the school. I blame the council if they don't absolutely squash this immediately. And I'll blame the government as well if they don't come out and say, this has got to stop, this is absolutely wrong, this is not going to happen in our schools. But what is happening here? It is entirely in line with the ethos of LGBT inclusive education, that is the policy of the Scottish Government. Government policy is that schools have to promote transgenderism as something to be celebrated. So while a school is saying, oh, it's wonderful that you've decided you're a girl even though you're really a boy, the parents are probably really concerned about them. They just regard it as cross-dressing, and they think this is really not what we want for our child. But meanwhile, the school very likely is saying, oh, this is just absolutely wonderful, we're delighted. We couldn't care less about the effect it's going to have on them in later life. We just love it because it embodies a trendy ideology that we're trying to push onto young people. So again, if you're thinking at this point, the world's going mad. No, this is worse than madness. It's not going mad, it's going bad. This is profoundly wrong. This is experimenting on children. They're experimenting. Adults are taking their radical gender ideology, imposing it on children as an experiment to see how it works out. Because this has never been done before in human history. A lot of these people pushing this ideology, they don't have their own kids. So they want to experiment on yours instead. Now, if you want to protect children in schools in Scotland from corruption and confusion, then you need to support the Scottish Family Party. Now, you see these boxes behind me here. I don't normally have boxes in the background for videos, but I've got so many of them in the house at the moment. Some of them had to go there. And one of the things they contain is our new book here, which is Corrupting Young Minds. And it outlines the way that the SNP is corrupting and confusing children and young people in schools in Scotland. It's quite a big book because it's quite a big topic and there's a lot to talk about. And we're going to be launching this book at our conference on the 13th of November in Dunfermline. There'll be a link below this. It'd be great to see you. If you want to support us in fighting back against this evil, do come along and join us at the conference or join the Scottish Family Party. There'll be a link below because something's got to be done for the sake of the children.